All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be the latest entry into the series What's Beef, and it's going to be featuring Mr. Kevin Durant, the superstar small forward formerly of the OKC Thunder, the Golden State Warriors, and currently on the shelf for the Brooklyn Nets, and Mr. Kendrick Perkins, the notable journeyman, formerly of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Boston Celtics, so on and so forth. Kendrick Perkins has been on a multitude of teams. He recently has retired, and now he's starting to become notable in the media world as someone who has unfiltered opinions. He's unafraid and unabashed to express them, and he has no compunctions about telling you how he really feels. You know, often in life we're told that we should not punch down, and even the scriptures tell us to answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou be like unto them. But the very next verse in Proverbs 26 tells us, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceits. So the question is, when Kevin Durant decided that he was going to go back and forth with Kendrick Perkins on social media, was it a sign of wisdom or was it a sign of folly on Kevin Durant's part? I'm on record as stating that I've come to realize that Kevin Durant going back and forth with these people is a form of catharsis for him. And I'm not against responding to certain people when it comes to certain topics if you feel like they're slandering you or they're trying to diminish your accomplishments. Sometimes you have to answer a fool according to his folly. But Kevin Durant also has to understand that he's only going to bring more notoriety to people like Kendrick Perkins when he tries to keep going back and forth with him. But I understand why he did it, though, because he sees what Kendrick is doing. Very much like a Shannon Sharp, Kendrick Perkins is trying to latch himself onto big names in the NBA world to try to amplify his profile in the sports media world, which I get it. But you also have to understand that in the process of doing that, you're going to harm some of the relationships that you've had or that you built while you were an NBA player. So are you willing to do that? I've already stated that without a doubt in my mind, the relationship between Shannon Sharp and Ray Lewis has been damaged, whether Shannon Sharp wants to admit it or not. When Shannon decided that he was going to hop on the Colin Kaepernick train, and Ray Lewis told him from the jump that what Colin Kaepernick was doing made no sense from a rational perspective. Just getting back to the point of this video, Kendrick Perkins has jumped on the Russell Westbrook train, which was a train that most of the media jumped on right before the 2016-2017 season, after Kevin Durant utilized his free agency rights to sign with a team that he fit in perfectly with, and that who clearly desperately needed him if they were going to continue to win championships. But the narrative within the media was that Kevin Durant was a coward, that he quote-unquote betrayed Russell Westbrook, even though we know that this is about business and not really about quote-unquote family. And if your family ties are truly that close, your relationship should be able to persevere. But as I've stated in other videos, they tried to sell these athletes on the family dynamic when it comes to being associated with a certain sports team. And it's good to see that athletes are starting to understand that it's all a facade. Let's understand something very quickly. Kendrick Perkins knew exactly what he was doing when he sent that tweet talking about, in 20 minutes, I'm going to tell you why Russell Westbrook is the best player to ever put on an Oklahoma City Thunder uniform. He's trying to create waves. He's trying to create ripples in the NBA media world. That's all he's trying to do. He knows that it will get back to Kevin Durant. And when that media person from Boston tried to check him, and he proceeded to attempt to denigrate, which is what he tried to do. He tried to denigrate KD's tenure with the Oklahoma City Thunder. That was him basically saying, my future in the NBA media is more important than my friendship with Kevin Durant. So will they be able to reclaim or repair their friendship? Hopefully. We'll see. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Russ's old team proceeded to rip apart his new one, and off the court, two of Russ's old teammates practically tore down Twitter. Oh yes, remember kids, this website is free. Now our story begins with the gentleman to my left, Mr. Kendrick Perkins, who writes, quote, in about 30 minutes, I'm going to go give my opinion on SportsCenter on why I believe Russell Westbrook is the best player to have ever put on an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey. He is Mr. Thunder.
I'll say this for what Kendrick Perkins stated here to give him the benefit of the doubt. Most likely what he was trying to say is that Russell Westbrook has had the best career of any performer that was aligned with the Oklahoma City Thunder while he was with that team. That's most likely what he meant, and maybe how the tweet reads was in a clunky way, and that happens sometimes when we type something or even when we say something. We're not quite delivering what the actual intent is. But he had the ability He had the opportunity to correct himself and clean it up when he got called out by the media member, and he decided to take it to a whole other level.
Now, Perk is never afraid to give an opinion, and that started a back and forth with Mark D'Amico, who works with the Celtics social media group. D'Amico writes, quote, "He put together the best career within that organization, but he's definitely not the best player to have ever put a jersey on for them. Come on, Perk."
Mr. D'Amico is obviously correct. Once again, this was Kendrick Perkins' opportunity to clean it up.
And Kendrick, this is someone you know. You responded to him, "Hey, Kevin left the door open, and Russ walked right in."
Maybe Kendrick Perkins did not understand what Mark D'Amico was trying to give him the opportunity to do. But Perkins comes off as someone who's extremely prideful, and he's going to keep down a certain path, even if he himself might recognize that he's going into a danger zone.
To which D'Amico says, "I think Russ walked right into that door called second round of the playoffs 3 straight times."
No, actually, you're incorrect there. Russ walked right into that door called first round of the playoffs 3 straight times. It would have been better put if you said Russ walked right into the wall called second round of the playoffs, because he never made it there after KD left.
So Perk fired back, "Well, KD lost in the second round without Russ when I was there. So what does that mean?" And ladies and gentlemen, that is where, enter stage left, we have one Mr. Kevin Durant, a man who has shown over and over he's got 2 thumbs and plenty of time. KD.
The media loves to do this with certain athletes who attempt to tweet back at them or respond back at them through social media. They believe that they can utilize social media as a bully pulpit and say whatever they want to state about athletes, but if an athlete were to respond back, it's because they're super sensitive or they don't have the right to respond to certain sentiments that are being propagated about them, even if they find them to be erroneous or miscalculated to whatever degree. And that's just not true. Someone does have the right to respond back, and at the end of the day, Kevin Durant knows Kendrick Perkins.
KD dive bombs in with this. Yeah, and our starting center, Kendrick Perkins, averaged a whopping 2 and 3 during that series. "You played hard though, champ. LOL."
Kendrick Perkins is one of the biggest flops to ever come through the NBA. He's probably the only player other than JaVale McGee in the last 15 years who has appeared on Shaqtin' a Fool that many times. I mean, Kendrick Perkins is not just your average 3 points, 4 rebound per game guy, because at least some of those guys you can say, well, he's a glue guy. Kendrick Perkins is a dude who's known for getting out there on the basketball floor and embarrassing himself. So it's amazing to me that he's so verbose on TV today and so unabashed in calling people bums and flops and guys who were disappointments. His career was a disappointment.
Alrighty then. A little harsh from Durant, but not too personal yet. And first, Perk responds pretty lightly with facts on the averages and facts on the champ part 2. Now, see, that was pretty nice, good-natured, which is
not sincerely good-natured, because you knew that Kendrick was getting upset and that he was going to fire back.
How Durant seemed to take it, because he tweeted back, little handshake emoji, and this could have been the end right there. Nope, it was not over. Perk went right back to KD's original diss and added an additional reply that said, "Boy, stop. You did the weakest move in NBA history. Up on a team 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals, and then go join them the following season? Part of a champion right there."
This is going to be the go-to move on Kevin Durant for the duration of his career, and most likely for the duration of his life. So he has to understand this is the point where you, as Kevin Durant, have to take on the mindset of an elitist and of someone who's operating according to cognitive function on a far higher level. He was too nice in his response, because in reality what he should have said to Kendrick Perkins was, what I did was not the weakest move in NBA history, it was actually the smartest move in NBA history. I went to a team that desperately needed me, and I was able to win 2 championships in 3 years. Should have won 3 straight had I not gone down. And now my career profile is even greater than it ever was before. I'm going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I have more financial opportunities than I ever would have had I stayed in OKC. And after my retirement, I'm not going to have to sit on TV and ridicule other players like you. So at the end of the day, it's not about the weakness of the move, it's about the intelligence of the move. But in life, people who are not particularly smart always try to resort to acts of machismo to justify their decision making. If we're going to analyze Kendrick Perkins' career at the end of the day, he never had the opportunity to be wanted by a team like the Golden State Warriors for the role that Kevin Durant was wanted for. But the one championship that Kendrick Perkins did win on the Boston Celtics was actually the modern day version of what we call the original super team. People might say, what about the Lakers in '04 with Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton? Well, we know that a couple of those players were on their last legs, pretty much, in Karl Malone and Gary Payton. It was really the '07-08 Celtics that reinvigorated that concept of creating super teams with not just two superstars, but three superstars in their relative prime. And Kendrick Perkins won a championship on that team. All this nonsense about how many wins the team had before you got there, that's all semantics. Super teams are super teams. Whether it was KG, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce, or LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh, or KD going to the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors were not a super team before KD got there. What they were was a team ahead of the curve when it came to how they played. But had KD not signed with them, I don't think that they would have beaten the Cavaliers in 2017 because the Cavaliers had a mental hold on them. There's no doubt about that in my mind.
Yep, and now we have a ball game. That drew two responses from Durant. First, this yawning gif, right?
That was lame.
And second, this tweet. Weak is starting at center, playing real minutes with no production. Should have worked on your skills as much as I did. To which
kudos to KD for keeping it as classy as that. Once again, all you have to say if you're KD is that I didn't make a weak move, I made an intelligent move. But if you're not intelligent, you would never understand that. A lot of cats today still call KD going to Golden State weak. You have to understand, they were courting him during the season. It wasn't Golden State or KD's fault that they ended up playing in the playoffs. KD was going to leave that squad unless they won a championship because he was done playing with Russell Westbrook. He was finished with him. And I've always likened their rapport or their relationship to a couple in Hollywood that may have been famous for being together, like Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow, or Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, or Ben Affleck and J-Lo. Everyone analyzes their relationship from the outside and says they're so perfect together, they're so good looking, they both have such great star power, they should be together forever. And when they break up, you find out they did not have much in common. KD never had much in common with Russell Westbrook, and he truly understood Westbrook is not a championship type player. He's just not. He does not make good decisions down the stretch of games, and he's not a good jump shooter. If you're a great player and you're intent on winning a championship, you have to be able to make good decisions and make jump shots. Bottom line, all of the great players in the history of the NBA, since we've left the big man era, have been able to make big jump shots down the stretch of games. I don't care who they are. LeBron James never started to win championships until he started to be able to make jump shots down the stretch of games against San Antonio, against OKC, against Golden State, whoever. Of course, we know about Steph Curry, KD, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon. It doesn't matter who you name. In order to win championships consistently, you have to make good decisions and be able to make jump shots. Russell Westbrook can do neither one. So that's why KD left. And unless they won the chip that year, that was the only way that KD was even going to think about staying. He already had his mind set that he was going to go to Golden State unless they won a championship in OKC. And he fit in perfectly with them.
Burke replied, "That's fine. You worked that hard and still had to go join a 73-9 team. Truth be told, you don't even feel like a real champ. You have a hard time sleeping at night, huh? Knowing you took the coward way out."
What Kendrick did there was attempt to detonate their friendship, because it's very clear that he was divulging things that KD told him in their private conversations. So you have to be very careful who you tell things to and who you think are your friends. Because there's an old saying that my grandfather used to tell me. He used to say, when your friends become your foes, out the window your story goes.
Damn, Perk! I swear. At one point, I thought I had stumbled into an Oklahoma City fanfic message board. There were, of course, other parties trying to jump in. Buffalo Wild Wings, their official Twitter account, sent this tweet out. I don't know why. There was also a fan named Justin Andrews. He answered Durant with this tweet: "Lil mad you didn't get your tribute video. Russ gave a city hope after you lied to everyone's face and took the easy way to rings."
Yes, Russ, quote unquote, gave the city hope for 3 seasons, and then snuck out the back door after he told the general manager, please trade me. So Russ left you guys too. He just did it in a different way. People are still upset at Kevin Durant for utilizing his free agency privileges, his free agency rights. If I'm KD, I should have said, I'm mad for spending millions of dollars on your bum-ass city. I shouldn't have spent one dime on your trash-ass city when that tornado swept through. How about that?
To which Durant replied, haha, nah, Perk just been shooting his little shots at me for a minute. And that was pretty much the end of it. Until today, because Kendrick Perkins, let's discuss. I do know as recently as this past NBA Finals, you and Kevin were still hanging out together. You were friendly, but last night was not friendly. So talk to me. What happened here?
Well, what happened was Kendrick Perkins got caught being sneaky. That's all. He got caught being sneaky, and he got caught trying to make sure that he could lead people down his path of the media narrative that they've been trying to propagate for the last 3 to 4 years. That being that Kevin Durant disrespected Oklahoma City. He disrespected Russell Westbrook because the media had paired them together kind of like a modern day Stockton and Malone. Not understanding that Kevin Durant was never happy there. He was never even happy in the city of OKC. That's why I think it was even a bigger slap in the face to him when the city turned against him, because once again, he was donating millions of dollars to that to that damn city. That's why I'm saying, if I'm Kevin Durant and somebody tweet me like the dude in the little Twitter comment did, I'm saying I'm mad that I spent all that money on your little trash ass city. There's hardly any black people here anyway. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just let you guys deal with your own issues. But you know, that's back when KD was trying to be politically correct.
Well, I want to apologize to Russell Westbrook because that activity on Twitter took away from his moment.
What took away from Russell Westbrook's moment was you trying to get attention for yourself.
Opinion. It was about Russ. That's what I wanted to make it about, Mr. Thunder himself. Secondly, I never meant to say that Russell Westbrook is an overall better basketball player than Kevin Durant.
Well, if that's the case, then you should have corrected yourself when D'Amico called you out. You chose to not do that. You chose to keep going.
I said it on the jump last year. I said it on First Take during the finals that Kevin Durant was the best player in the world.
Well, everybody knows that. The real question is, why did you not correct yourself when you had the opportunity?
Now, when you come and talk about the Thunder organization, when KD left the Thunder, that was his choice, okay? You left the door open, you left the chair there for Russ to go sit in, and he took full advantage of it.
No one's disputing that. Everyone knows that Russell Westbrook has the greatest career as a Thunder. What you basically said is that he was the best player to ever put on a Thunder jersey. When D'Amico asked you to qualify that statement, to once again attempt to validate or verify what your intent was by making that statement, you doubled down as opposed to checking yourself like you're trying to do right now.
Didn't let that, everybody counted them out. He left them for dead. Russ said, oh no, I'm not going out like that. He continually to put them guys in position to be successful every year, back to back.
Russell Westbrook continuously put Oklahoma City in position to be successful every year by going out in the first round every season. Look, a lot of Westbrook's fans think that I don't like him. It's not that I don't like him. It's just that I view him as the Allen Iverson 2.0. He's Allen Iverson of this era. He's a force of nature type player. He can go out there and get you 45, 15, and 12. Blow your mind. And then he can go out there and score 21 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds, and shoot 3 for 27 from the field. Like, he's that type of player. So he's the ultimate feast or famine type. But he just astonishes you with his unbelievable athleticism and drive to play. And that's what these people get caught up in. They're fanboys of his drive and his athleticism. And it stops them from being able to evaluate exactly what he does as a player out there on the floor. I don't care what your personality is. What is your productivity? And how do you conduct yourself in the most crucial moments? That's what counts. And that's where Russell Westbrook comes up short.
Scoring champs, MVPs. He leads the Thunder organization in points, rebounds, assists, steals. The only player to do have a 20-20 triple-double twice. He was the only player to do it. I mean, like, he is Mr. Thunder. Now, however...
All that's true, but that's not what you stated in your tweet. You said that Russell Westbrook is the best player to ever put on an Oklahoma City Thunder jersey. And that's not accurate. What you should have stated is that he's had the best career of any player to ever play for that organization as a member of that organization.
KD feels about the situation, that's on him. You know, you have to leave that. You have to. But I didn't heard on record numerous of times where KD says, "I don't care about what OKC do anymore and all that." So what did it matter? But it's like, it's almost like you still have this it's like, man, I like this ill will towards the Thunder, or this ill will towards that. I wasn't shooting a slug at KD about.
No, actually, you were
calling Russ Mr. Thunder. I was stating the facts. He is Mr. Thunder.
You know, you say, what does it matter? You know, if KD's saying, I don't really care what happens with the Thunder. I think what matters to me is that you actually shared blood, sweat, and tears with KD.
Right.
Y'all been in that locker room together. Y'all been very good friends. The only thing that I hate about it, because I don't disagree with what anybody said, but what I hate about it, Perk, is that you actually allowed somebody that you don't even know to spark something up, and now we had this big old thing today. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Chauncey Billups, I have to question if you exactly were listening to what Rachel Nichols stated, because according to her, Kendrick Perkins does know that media member Mark D'Amico. That's number one. Number two, I think it's relatively shameful that you're trying to blame the verbal spat between KD and Kendrick Perkins on that media member, when the media member actually was trying to give Perkins an opportunity to clean up his statement, which was extremely sloppy. If Perkins is going to be a member of the media, he's going to have to make sure that his statements are clean, meaning that whatever sentiment that he's trying to convey to the viewing audience or the listening audience is exactly what he means to convey. Because if not, a lot of his statements are going to be misappropriated and they're going to be misunderstood.
I don't disagree with none of that stuff with y'all, but I just know what a brotherhood is and what it should be, you know, and what it should maybe continue to be. But it can't always go on sometimes like that. But I hate that the fact that we're not sitting here talking about, and like you said, you apologize to Russ. We're not sitting here today talking about how special that video was.
Yes.
The ovation that Russ had.
Right.
Deservedly so. You allow somebody that you don't even know to hijack that.
Right.
To me, that's the only thing. Other than that, I don't mind what nobody said in the whole thing. It really doesn't matter. And also, I'm from the era where if there's an issue with me, that's why I got this cell phone.
Absolutely.
Call my number. If you can't get to me, I'm pretty sure it won't take long. And let's discuss that.
Right.
Not on social media. I want.
Once again, members of the media believe that they have the sole right to make inflammatory statements about athletes on social media. The real problem right now is that athletes have the ability to make those same statements, so now the rabbit has the gun. When they get put under that same pressure to qualify their statements, as athletes get put under pressure to qualify why they did what they did on the court or on the field, they become uncomfortable. It's really good for everyone involved, especially for these guys on television, because it brings more attention to what they do. But at the end of the day, you don't have the right to tell an athlete, you should call me up when I make statements about you on social media. You don't have the right to do the same thing that I did to you. No, it doesn't work that way.
Just that. Me and you can call and talk on the phone.
Right. So he could have picked up the phone and called me if he had a problem with what I said about Russ. But he wanted to make that about him, in my opinion. My phone always on. KD number not blocked.
Yeah.
My phone on. He could call me at any time. If he had a problem with me saying Mr. Thunder or Russ or whatever the case may be, or I could explain to him what I meant by that. By no means am I saying that Russell Westbrook is a better player than Kevin Durant. I'm not.
Once again, Kendrick Perkins, Mark D'Amico responded to your initial statement and gave you the out so that you could attempt to explain your initial statement better. You decided to go deeper down that rabbit hole and attempt to diminish what KD did so that you could exalt Russell Westbrook as this heroic figure for the Thunder. You didn't say, after D'Amico said, wait a minute, Perk. What you really mean is that Russell Westbrook had the best career, but he's not the best player to ever play for them. You still kept going. You said, well, KD left the door open when he left. That's what you said.
And that by no means. But when we're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, that's when I have to say that. I mean, everybody criticizes Russell Westbrook and criticizes Brody, but let's give him his card when it's due. Let's give him his props.
Absolutely.
And what he did with that franchise and the following season, nobody even expected them to do nothing. KD almost left that franchise for dead.
KD almost left that franchise for dead. So if you're a free agent, you don't have the right to leave a team because you're going to leave them for dead, according to Kendrick Perkins. So when Kevin Garnett demanded that trade from the Minnesota Timberwolves, was he leaving that franchise for dead too? I guess we're not going to say that about him. Oh, hell, how about your boy Westbrook? When Westbrook demanded the trade from the OKC Thunder before this season, did he leave the franchise for dead? What KD did, to me, was less grievous than a player demanding a trade. Because at least you knew when KD's free agency came up that it was a good chance that he was going to leave. And you had the opportunity to prepare yourself. When a player walks into your office and demands a trade, what really are you going to do? Look at what Anthony Davis did to the New Orleans Pelicans. You could say that he left them for dead. But all KD did was utilize his rights, bro.
Westbrook kept that franchise relevant. He's the heart and soul of that organization.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody can dispute that.
No, but people do.
People that who knows better, who been in that locker room?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. No,
that's my point. Like you're talking about what people?
Right.
People that do this, that's been around in this game. We all know Russell's going to go down as the best Thunder player.
Right.
Now, at the end of the day, do I personally think KD is a better player? I do.
I do
and
too.
I think the majority of people do. Those are two different things.
Right.
But once again, Kevin Durant did not become involved in the conversation that Kendrick Perkins was having with the reporter Mark D'Amico until after D'Amico chimed in, gave Kendrick Perkins the opportunity to restate his sentiment in a better and clearer fashion. And Kendrick Perkins decided that he was going to attempt to attack Kevin Durant's legacy on OKC again and the means with which he decided to leave OKC. That's when Kevin Durant stepped in. So let's not blame the media guy. Let's not try to obfuscate the conversation and allege that there's a question over who's going to be considered having the better Thunder career as opposed to who's the best player to ever play for the Thunder. Those are two separate conversations. As we all know, or as we all should know, Kendrick Perkins was given, once again, the opportunity to make that distinction, and he chose not to. Now all of a sudden he's on TV trying to play the victim.
Argue that with somebody that don't know, that don't matter. Of course they're gonna have an opinion.
But this is my thing, Chance.
Now Chauncey Billups trying to big time Mark D'Amico. He trying to blame him. That has nothing to do with what's going on here, dude.
Why are you so sensitive? You knew this day was coming. You knew it was coming. First.
Well, I believe that Kevin Durant could ask you the same question. Why are you so sensitive? All he did was state facts. You averaged 2 points, 3 rebounds with the Thunder. You provided no help whatsoever. You were stiff out there on the basketball floor. Let's be real about something. Once again, Kendrick Perkins, it wasn't like he was a dude who was 6'10", 240, and was averaging 13 rebounds and 10 points a game and was a great defensive force. What Kendrick Perkins was basically the NBA version of a traffic cone. He just stood there, set picks, and got blown around. And when I say blown around, I'm talking about the opposing team's guards would just dribble around him like he was standing still, because for the most part, that's all he could do. He really served no purpose on most of the teams that he was on, other than as a morale booster and as a so-called tough guy, quote unquote. And that's all he did. So for him to try to act as if KD is the sensitive one here, KD gave you multiple opportunities as his friend to clean up your statements, and you chose not to, so he decided to step in. It is what it is.
You made the decision. Kevin Durant, you made the decision to leave OKC. You knew what was going to come behind this. You left. You knew when you signed with Golden State what was going to happen.
Let's be very clear about something. Every generation, the media picks certain players that they like and certain players that they don't like. Kevin Durant touched on this in his interview when he went on First Take. So over the last 10 to 15 years, the players that the media likes, they tend to be extroverted players and players who exude that vibe of being quote-unquote assassins on the basketball floor. the players that they don't like tend to be the more introverted players who don't quote unquote play the game. So we know they love Westbrook. They love Antetokounmpo because he also has that strident vibe where he's going to be super competitive. They love Joel Embiid because he's quote unquote outgoing. Back in the day, they had a love-hate relationship with Kobe because at first Kobe was kind of the new Jordan. Then after the rape allegations, he became kind of the dark side Kobe, and then he emerged as a winner. So they had a love-hate relationship with him. They're madly in love with LeBron because he plays the political game and he also plays the politically correct game. He's a super liberal, so they love him. They don't like Kyrie. They don't like Kawhi. They don't like Kevin Durant. And it's pretty much all for the same reason. Those guys are relatively introverted and difficult to read. So Westbrook basically did the same thing that KD did back in 2016. It just took him 3 more years to do it, and he went through the backdoor channels and begged the GM to trade him as opposed to leaving the team. So this notion that one player betrayed the team and the other player didn't, that's nonsense. It's just that Westbrook waited longer, and they always favored him.
So don't be mad because when Russ returns, he get this warm welcome. The fans, everybody love him. And you didn't get the same. You know what I'm saying? Let's not take away from what Russell Westbrook brought to the table. KD, it was your choice. You could have stayed. You could have stayed in OKC your whole career.
He didn't want to. He didn't want to play with Westbrook, and he was smart.
And been everything in OKC. You was everything until you left.
Yes, he could have been a big fish in a small pond. He left for the same reason that Shaq left. The only difference is that Shaq actually could have won a championship, in my view, had he stayed in Orlando, presuming that Penny Hardaway stays healthy. Now, we saw that Penny Hardaway's his physical health took a severe decline, a severe downturn after Shaq left. Could it be possibly because of the pressure that was on him, or could it just have been a degenerative knee issue that was unavoidable? Who knows? Either way, it worked out for Shaq. But Kevin Durant definitely made the right decision.
And then Russ slid right on in and said, you know what? I got an opportunity here. I'm about to take over.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all with that.
So look, Kendrick,
take over what? Being a stat pattern and going out in the first round? But that's media narrative. When they like a player, they'll congratulate you for getting knocked out in the first round. When they don't like a player, they're going to castigate you for losing in the conference finals or in the finals or even winning championships, but not winning how they want you to win.
it is the distinction Josh is talking about, and you're talking about. We talk about this with the Lakers sometimes. It's kind of the easiest example I can always give, right? Who is the best player who ever may have happened to put on a Laker uniform? You're talking about Kareem or LeBron, right? At this point, who is the best Laker to have their best play be in a Laker uniform? You're talking about Magic or Kobe.
Right.
Great combination of factoids right there by Rachel Nichols. Even though she might she might set the internet and social media ablaze there, because a lot of the Kobe fanboys are not going to like LeBron being placed above Kobe. But that's just a fact. Me, myself, I don't like the fact that she placed LeBron above Magic. I think that the two best players as of right now to ever play for the Lakers are Kareem and Magic. But she made her point there.
Just completely
Right,
different answer,
absolutely,
right?
right.
And that's the distinction you're making, that Russ was the best player who has put his best years and best time into the Thunder as a Thunder player.
Yeah.
The best player who has ever put on a Thunder uniform, it's Kevin Durant. And by the
Right, but that's not what you said in your tweet, dude. And D'Amico gave you the chance to clarify that, and you decided not to.
I would say James Harden is the next guy on that list before we got to Russell Westbrook. That
I agree. Rachel Nichols, you're on point here.
opinion.
Right.
But anyway, as we go through all of that, that distinction, though, once this whole thing started, especially once Kevin jumped in, you could have made that distinction to them. I wanted to know whether you regretted at all getting personal with KD about him leaving Oklahoma City, not really being a champion, that kind of stuff.
Well, no, I don't regret it, but because to me, when he attacked me about a whopping 2 points, 3 rebounds,
That gave you the avenue to become sensitive. The same thing you accused KD of. Let the record show. What Kendrick Perkins just stated is that he thinks that once KD, quote unquote, attacked him, that's when he went into his little bullshit 73-9 Same silly argument that all these clowns use in the media. I mean, if he was not smart to do that, then why are all you clowns working for ESPN? They're the worldwide leader in sports. Shouldn't you just stay at home and start a podcast if you think that you should be able to work yourself up without anyone's help, and you don't want to be involved in the highest brand of the business that you want to be a part of? All these people flock to ESPN or Fox Sports 1. You do that for a reason. You want to be involved with the best. Kevin Durant wanted to be involved with the best, and they needed him. It was not like he was just some extra guy there. But once again, let the record show that, as I've already stated, Kendrick Perkins, he tried to run and accuse Kevin Durant of being sensitive when he's truly the sensitive one here.
I sacrificed, Rachel, excuse me, and Chauncey, I sacrificed a lot.
I sacrificed a lot. I could have stayed in Boston and averaged 2 points and 3 rebounds a game and just set picks for Paul Pierce all game. I chose to set picks for Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant.
That Oklahoma City team. I went from a team with the Boston Celtics where I was getting 10 shot attempts a game because
I was still only averaging 2 or 3 points, but at least I was getting 10 shots.
Guys were passing the ball to. I went to a team where Russell Westbrook, James Harden were taking. If we had 90 shots in the game, they were taking 75, and I was okay with that.
You had to be okay with that, bro. You have no offensive skills whatsoever. You have 0 offensive skills, and you could barely jump over a sheet of loose leaf.
I was okay with setting screens for Kevin Durant and getting him wide open shots. I was okay with doing my.
Well, what was you gonna say, Coach? I really think you should be running plays for me to take 3-point shots. Bump KD. I'm a better shooter than him. Like, come on. Of course you're out there setting picks, bro. Knock it off.
I knew what I brought to the table. And not to stroke.
Yeah, what you brought to the table was setting picks.
Ego, but Kevin Durant. Listen, brother. Before I got to Oklahoma City, y'all never got past the first round. Y'all couldn't get past Paul Gasol and Andrew Bynum.
Could it be because they were 20 years old? Could that possibly be it? I'm not saying that Perkins had nothing to do with helping their growth as a team, because he came from a team in Boston where he had championship experience. But let's also keep in mind that when OKC made that attempt at a title run in 2012, those guys were all no older than 23 years old. I believe KD was 23. Russell Westbrook was like 21 or 22, and so was James Harden. Like, those guys were babies. So he's trying to act like the reason why they finally made that run was because he got there. Knock it off.
That's the reason that OKC traded for me, was because y'all needed that enforcer inside to go over there and make that strong push in the West. So when he shot them slugs at me, that rubbed me the wrong way.
You got sensitive. Once again, you're admitting repeatedly that you were the sensitive one here.
By the way, I got 4 kids at home, 3 boys and 1 girl. And
so that's why I got to make all these hot takes, because I got to keep food in their mouth. That's why I come on TV saying all this crazy shit about NBA players. Because I got to make sure I keep getting paid. I got 4 kids and 3 dogs.
One thing I'm always going to teach my sons is to stand up what you believe in, and always to fight back, even if you have to stand up 1 deep by yourself.
Well, I agree with that, bro, but that has nothing to do with the conversation. Now you taking a little Twitter tip with Kevin Durant and trying to turn it into a life lesson, which tells me that you know that you're dead wrong.
That's what I did. So I felt like he hit below the belt. Oh, you want to fight 5 with 5? Well, I'm going to shoot a slug right back at you.
So in other words, when he spoke facts and said that you averaged 2 points and 3 rebounds, he was hitting below the belt. What you're really admitting is that you're hitting him below the belt. In other words, you're saying something that really is not valid. You're just trying to hurt his feelings. Bro, you're just exposing yourself here.
It's not. It's just what it is. It's just what it is, and I don't.
It's just what it is. I played my career for 14 years. I sat on every bench for every team I played for. In my opinion, the Cleveland Cavaliers had the most comfortable bench. I sat right there on the corner. I helped LeBron get his towels and his water. And now I'm sitting here at the jump, and this chair is real comfortable. And KD, I would love to get another Twitter beef with you so I can get more famous, get more followers.
Read none of it.
All right. Chauncey, this is not the way you and your former teammates have been, but, you know, this happens in the NBA, right? I don't see the Detroit Pistons going at this already.
We didn't do that. We didn't do that.
Do you think that, go ahead.
Chauncey and them, but see, Chauncey come from a different breed. You know what I mean? That was the difference. I was raised up under Gary Payton, Kevin Garnett, Rasheed Wallace, Paul Pierce, you know, Vin Baker. I was raised under some old school dudes. You know what I'm saying? So they knew, you know, hey.
Only difference between them dudes and these guys today is that those guys did not grow up with social media. All them dudes is crazy. Every last one of them guys you named was crazy.
I go even start this file, whatever the case may be. I didn't start with Kevin. Kevin started with me.
But you
No, dude, you started with him. Knock it off.
really think that Kevin Durant is not a real champion, do you?
Hey, I said what I said, Rach.
All right. There we go.
I said what I said. Somebody help me find my path of file. But anyway, it is what it is. Kevin Durant, in my view, was just entertaining himself. But, of course, the media is going to spin it into KD super sensitive. As we can see here on television, it's actually Kendrick Perkins who was the super sensitive one. He truly should be happy that he was able to play with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook so that he could utter their names out of his mouth and keep himself relevant. Nothing against Kendrick. I actually enjoy a lot of his basketball takes, but sometimes he goes a little bit too far. But anyway, peace.